the last house, the last air house, and the house in this episode is associated with the 11th sign in the zodiac, and that's Aquarius. So this is the 11th house. Now, if you've listened to other episodes this season, which I trust that you have, you know that this season has been about the 11th house. That's right. A lot of the I could say descriptive or informational episodes I have been about the 11th house, a reference to 11th house, and the people I spotlighted in terms of their birth charts this season have been people that I concentrated on their 11th house specifically. So by now you probably have a pretty good grasp of what the 11th house is about if you've listened to any of those episodes. So by the 11th house being an air house, it's been all about the social aspect, as I mentioned in the previous segment, other people. And so while the 3rd and the 7th house talk about other people, 3rd house being your communication with other people, right? The 7th house being about your relationship and your ability to collaborate with other people. The 11th house is also about other people. This house is about your associations. It's about your friends. It's about groups, maybe groups that you belong to, clubs that you belong to, working with groups of people in general. So I read something that I guess I'll share with you guys. As you know, I'll read things, and if I don't agree, I'm pretty vocal about the fact that I don't agree. And my agreement is not based on me being a professional astrologer or anything like that. I've not trained for it or anything. But it's based on just my reviewing people's charts, including my own, and seeing that some of these things don't seem to jibe with what I'm seeing. So here's a quote that I read about the 11th house. So it says, traditionally, since the 11th house appertains to the 10th, and the 10th was the house of the king, the 11th has denoted the king's advisor, his counsel, and allies. So basically what they're saying is your 10th house is about the house of the king. Like, I guess if you have more plans, interaction in the 10th house, you would be kind of like the king. And in the 11th house, this represents you being more of an advisor to the king, or a counsel or ally. Now, I don't agree with that. And if you've listened to any of my episodes where I focused on people who had planets in the 11th house or some type of interaction with the 11th house, you know that they were not simply advisors or counselors or allies. Some of them are very wealthy, even a billionaire worth wealthy. So this is not true, in my opinion. Not just in my opinion, but what I'm seeing. The 11th house, when I say friends, it could be your actual friends that you hang out with when I refer to the 11th house. But the 11th house is also about the groups that you interact with, the people that support you, the people that approve of you. And so the way this works out, in some of the examples from other episodes that I have, sometimes this works out as someone who becomes really popular and they develop a fan base. Because when you think about it, that's still a group, right? And it could be for a singer or an actor, but it could also be for someone who writes books, or it could be for some of you out there, if you're listening, you have your own podcast. It could be mean for you. Your community, the people that listen to your podcast, often could be considered your community, your people, your groups. That is an 11th house issue. Okay, so the 11th house is about the groups, and it's also about gains. It's a money house. It's 3. And the 11th house is the last money house. Like I've said before, some people may wonder why there are 3. Well, the short answer to that is that it represents different types of money. When you consider having groups of people that support you, particularly if it's to the point of you having a community or a solid fan base, well, there's obviously a way to monetize that. So that's kind of where the gains part comes in. It can also represent acquisitions of companies, varieties of income, things like that. So those are 11th house based. But you can't do it without other people. And this kind of goes back to this being an air house. You're going to have to work with other people in order to make this happen. As opposed to the second house, which is the earth house, which is spotlighted in the other episode. The second house is about you going out there and hustling on your own. I call it the hustle house. It's about you using your own talents and resources to earn the income that you want. 11th house is a money house, but it's not about you and your own resources. It's about other people and their approval and their ability to support you. So whenever I see somebody's chart with some 11th house activity, sometimes this can represent that the person has the ability to garner support from people. Or it could represent something having to do with their career, and their career is somehow based around other people.